Hello, I'm happy to be here. I'm delighted to have you here too. I'd like to thank Sage Publishing for giving me this chance to connect with you. This meaningful connection in the times of social distancing feels like a special gift. Many years ago, a telephone operator in a small town was receiving a daily call asking for the exact time. This went on for many weeks. Finally, the operator asked him, "Why do you call every day asking for exact time?" "Because I'm the person responsible for blowing the whistle at noon every day," the caller replied. "Oh, this is strange because I set my clock by your whistle every day," the operator replied. A simple story, but an accurate parable on life. Whether we know it or not, whether we realize it or not, we are deeply connected with one another. Each life has a far reaching effect on many others than is often realized. This is the lesson the outbreak of coronavirus has taught us, isn't it? That there is a profound relationship between the individual and the universe, and that there is a sensitive interdependence between human beings, animals, and the environment. In fact, we get to see the famous butterfly effect in action. The butterfly flapping its wings in one corner of the world and having its effect thousands of miles away. It's just that we had to replace the butterfly with the coronavirus. So, if this is true, that one person can have impact on many others in a negative way, the converse must also be true. That one person acting responsible, acting caring, actor giving can also have impact in a positive way on many. For example, look at the flood of caring and giving that we see around the world. People are sharing food, money, PPE kits, masks, ideas, knowledge, intellectual property, and research in order to overcome and deal with this crisis. Interestingly, the worst has brought out the best in us. So now that we have seen the connection between the individual and the universe, the urgent priority then is to create a time and space for connecting with oneself. For connecting with oneself is the foundation for connecting with people. Unless we bring peace and harmony to our own mind, how can we bring peace and harmony to the world? Unless we turn inward, fixing our own well being, how can we turn outward, fixing the well being of the planet? And unless we deal with the challenge of healing ourselves, how can we begin to heal the planet? There are insights from the field of mind body research which can help us in this process. In the last 2 decades, the mind and body field has blossomed. The research tells us that just as genes, environmental pollutants, disease agents, and stress can affect or are responsible in causing illness, similarly, the psychological factors can also play their own role. And the mind can also contribute in risk and recovery from any illness. In fact, in the field of psychoneuroimmunology, evidence tells us that the thoughts and images on the mind itself can affect the immune system, and the power of mind is such that it can influence the immune and the endocrine systems. So, the important factor in illness is not stress, but how we cope with stress. And how we cope with stress depends in large part on our personalities. And within that, our emotions play a major role in managing stress, managing relationships, and maintaining a healthy state of body. So, I'm going to briefly talk about the rich and at times a murky world of emotions and how, by effectively managing this world, we can boost up the immune personality. By and large, emotions are rarely expressed in words. They are expressed through nonverbal cues. No wonder many of us are at a complete loss to read other people's feelings, or at times are even confused to know what they are feeling. And why is that? Because the connectivity with our emotions has been severed through years of inattention and repression. There is so much importance given on learning logic, data, and numbers that we often ignore the need to have emotional education. As a result, it creates emotional tone deafness. And this emotional tone deafness can create havoc in various aspects of our life, from sales and management to parenting and political action. Many of us are also have a tendency to thrust aside powerful emotions such as anger, rage, fear, anxiety, and resentment. But what we repress, ignore, or fight with can return as a symptom. Maybe not right away, but over a period of time. And that could be in the form of headaches, insomnia, or peptic ulcers. Have you noticed that our headaches reflect our tensions at work? Our heart palpitations indicate that we are exhausted from taking too much responsibility, and our peptic ulcers suggest that we have difficulty in accepting or maybe digesting the vital changes in our life. Now, understanding these emotions are very important now, especially when we are working from home, because anger related to work issue can easily get into the personal space or a family space, and frustration experienced at home can get into the workspace, affecting the mood, efficiency, and productivity. It is therefore important to pay attention to the ACE factor, which has been found very effective in dealing with emotional stress and, if managed well, in boosting the immune personality. Based on the research of a system psychologist, Dr. Gary Schwartz, the ACE factor has shown that people who tend to tune in with with the mind body signals of pain and discomfort are better able to deal with situations psychologically. They have better immune systems, and they also have healthier cardiovascular system. So let's look at it, uh, this ACE factor carefully. ACE stands for attention, connection, and expression. Attention, that is paying attention to your feelings and emotions, and especially uncomfortable emotions. Connection is identifying and labeling those feelings and assessing the intensity of those feelings. And expression is the ability to regulate the emotion and express it in a socially acceptable way, and also knowing the difference between feeling an emotion and acting on emotion. So let's look at it one by one. Let's look at attention first. Imagine a co-worker or a colleague makes an offending remark at work. This causes you discomfort and hurt. But instead of attending to that feeling, you simply smile, nod, and walk off. As a result, your next interaction with her is mixed with feelings of resentment. And to make matters worse, your coworker is blissfully unaware of the discomfort or hurt she's causing you. So eventually, this climaxes into an outburst of rude exchange for the whole office to see. Now, in case you had attended to this uncomfortable feeling in good time, you could have dealt with it in a more effective way. Because what is unattended doesn't go away, it just simmers underneath the surface and erupts under pressure. So this is something is worth noting of. Connection. There is a human tendency to avoid or wall off powerful emotions such as anger or fear. Now, a high potential and a competent manager is in a state of shock over the feedback he's just received from his team members. While he thought he is very friendly and popular, his team members had said in their feedback that he has an issue with his temper, he's aggressive, and he's insensitive to others' feelings. When he thought about it, the trigger for this emotion has always been his lack of ability in handling pressure or in meeting deadlines. But when he became aware of that, he realized that this anger was laced actually with feelings of fear about getting bad appraisal. When he connected with it, he also realized that this whole situation caused him to worry about his job, and he did have feelings about losing his job. But as you see, the anger was a secondary reaction to his fear, and the fear was hiding underneath the anger. So, when he became aware of it, he decided to stay vigilant, and over time, he could manage his work relationships better. So, distressing emotions like anger, anxiety, fear are triggered when we feel threatened or attacked. But instead of noticing them, if you avoid them, then the emotion can completely consume you. And instead of feeling frustration about a certain matter, you become frustrated. And this can then lead to outburst of an behavior, which will give you a reason for you to regret later. But connecting with the feeling in good time can give you many dividends. Now let's look at expression. Do you remember the delightful cartoon strip of the 1980s called the Dennis the Menace? This is a cartoon which actually talks about the innocent and humorous pranks of an 8-year-old and life seen through the eyes of an innocent child. In one of the cartoons, Dennis is seen struggling with his maths homework, and he doesn't get a single sum right. He tries it for a while, and frustrated, he doodles all over and tears the page off, makes it into a ball, and throws it out of the window. And in a huff, he storms out of the house. Outside, he is greeted by his friend, and he cheerfully says, "Hi, Dennis, how are you?" And what would be Dennis's response to this greeting? He delivers a tight slap on his cheek. Surprised and taken aback, the boy rushes to Dennis's mother and complains about this. "Why did you do that, Dennis?" His mother asks him in exasperation. "Oh, mom, that's because I didn't know what else to do." That is Dennis's reply. Now, Dennis could get away with it because he is a young kid and he didn't know the difference between feeling an emotion and acting on emotion. But if this is not paid attention to, even as grown up adults, we will see that the physical slap merely changes its form into a psychological slap to whoever is pulling the trigger, causing distress to all concerned. So it's therefore very important to know the difference between feeling an emotion and acting on it, because this can then help you to have impulse control. I'm here reminded of a famous quote of Aristotle, the Greek philosopher, who had said, anyone can become angry. That is easy. But to become angry with the right person, to the right degree, at the right time, for the right purpose, and in a right way, that is not easy. And how true this is, because emotions move us. The sense of motion or movement is implicit in that word. E, motion. And you may have noticed that with anger, the blood rushes to the hands, making it easier to strike someone who is causing you the provocation. With fear, the blood rushes to the legs, making it easier to flee or to run away from the perceived danger. With grief or sadness, the energy levels drop and you don't feel like taking part into the activities or engagements of life. And with joy and happiness, there is a heightened flow of energy which makes you feel that you would like to conquer the whole wide world. So, as you can see, when we attend to the emotion and when we connect with it and when we express it, we are also managing our ability to respond to people and to situations very effectively. Because when we pay attention to our own feelings and emotion, we are able to pay attention to the feelings and emotions of others as well. When we pay attention and connect with our feelings, we are able to connect with the feelings and emotions of others as well. And when we can learn to express our emotions in a regulated and mature way, we can help others expressing the emotions in a regulated way too. So, this ability to be able to feel what the other person is feeling, to be able to see the world from the other's point of view, and to be able to walk into the other's shoes can lead to developing the very important trait of empathy. And empathy then can lead to developing care and compassion. These are the three attributes: empathy, care, and compassion we need to cultivate in dealing with this crisis. So, in summing up, I would like to leave you with three reflective questions. Now that we've seen the interconnection between the individual and the universe, how are you planning to spread the virus of empathy, care, and compassion? The mind and body research tells us about the role of emotions in developing or boosting our immune personality. So then, we may mask our face during current times, but we may not mask our emotions. So, how are you planning to use the ACE factor in boosting your immune personality? And finally, while we acknowledge that these are times of great collective challenge, these are also times of potential change. Turning off all the distractions, all the noise that we were used to, going out, meeting people, hanging out with friends, movies, shopping, etc. We are forced to stay indoors and we are forced to pause and reflect and develop a good friendship with ourselves. We are in a lockdown, all right, but we are not locked away. So, this then can be a potential time to rebrand ourselves and rebrand our relationships. Because who knows, post lockdown, post COVID 19, we might change our outlook in looking at ourselves and the world, and we might change our ways of relating with ourselves, with others, and the world around us. So, how would you like to answer the call to change? And how can we together ensure and preserve this positive cycle of change? I would love to hear your thoughts and your comments on this very important issue. Thank you for your attention.